Hey everybody, that's right. You are listening to the first ever episode of Chicken Parm Dave's MMA Chowdown. And what am I chowing down on today? Well, that's a simple question that I'm going to answer right now. UFC 204, just a couple days away, actually just 1 day away. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and I'm going to give you my predictions on that great fight card. So without further ado, let's get it going. Okay, first up on the prelim card, the Fight Pass prelim card, we got names that I am going to butcher, and I am sorry that I can't help it. I just don't know how to read, and I can't say the people's names properly, but hey, we're all here to have a good time, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, first up in the lightweight category, we got Lucas Sedgwick versus Mark Diascus, and I am going to go Lucas on this one. Why? Because I think that he will win by second round submission. That's what I'm going with. And let me start this off that this card is pretty stacked, UFC 204 in my opinion, but I know everyone always differs with how cards are stacked, and the MMA community is very tough to get ahead with people talking about good cards, bad cards. But I think that UFC 204 is going to be a really good card, and let's see if I'm right. Next up, also in the lightweight division, we got Leonardo Santos versus Adriano Martins. Okay, now this one I'm having a little trouble with, but I am going to go with Adriano Martins. And why? Because I think he's the better fighter, I think he's the more experienced fighter, and I think he's going to prove that on Saturday night at UFC 204. And how do you think he's going to win? How do I think he's going to win? First round submission. That's what I'm going with for Adriano Martins. Next up, the featured fight in the preliminary card on UFC Fight Pass, we got Danny Roberts versus Mike Perry. Now, Mike Perry's a guy that fought at UFC 202, which he really shouldn't have even been there. I think it was a week's notice where he came in during the main card and he fought Hung Yong Lim, and he knocked him out in the very first round, TKO. So there's a lot of steam with this Mike Perry guy. I mean, he's one-dimensional. He'll just punch you until he can't punch you anymore, and then he usually gasses out after the first round. But he's going up against a guy named Danny Roberts, Mr. Hot Chocolate here. And I think this is actually going to be a pretty good fight. I think they're not going to take it to the ground. I think they're just going to stand and just bang the whole time. But I'm actually going to go Danny Roberts this one with second round TKO for the main event for the Fight Pass prelims is going to be Danny Roberts beating Mike Perry by second round TKO. And on to the Fox Sports 1 card, which we have 4 fights that I'm going to be talking about. First up in the welterweight division, we got Leon Edwards versus Albert Tumanov. And I feel like everyone knows who is going to win this one. That's going to be Tumanov by probably first round submission or second round submission. But I feel like that's a given that Tumanov is going to win. He's very experienced. And he's fought pretty big name guys. He's fought, he's beat Larkin. He's beat, he's beat Duane. He lost to Gunnar Nelson by neck crank in his last fight, which was a pretty good fight to watch. But I don't think that Leon Edwards has what it takes to beat a guy like Tumanov. So I'm going Tumanov probably first round submission. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got Damian Stasiak versus Davy Grant. Yeah, 2 big name stars in that one, folks. I mean, this one, edge of your seat the whole time. I'm actually going Davy Grant. I think that's going to be a unanimous decision for Grant. I feel like he's going to get it done. And, that should be a pretty good fight to watch. That's why we're buying the card for UFC 204 for the Fox Sports 1 card. And that fight in particular, Damian Stasiak versus Davy Grant, fight of the year. Next up, also in the a lot of bantamweight fights on this preliminary card for Fox Sports 1. Next up, we got Ian Entwistle versus Rob Font. That's right, Rob Font, a local guy here. I gotta go Font with this one. I mean, he's from the Massachusetts area. He had a good fight against Lineker last time. He's beat people like Roop. He's beat Joey Gomez, and I have a feeling that Rob Font will probably win by, let's say, first round TKO for Mr. Rob Font, and that's actually going to be a pretty good fight. I feel like that's going to be a lot better than the main event for the Fox Sports 1 prelim card, but I'm going Rob Font, probably first round KO or TKO. Next up, the featured fight for the Fox Sports 1 prelim card, we got Yuri Alcantara versus Brad One Punch Pickett. Okay, now this one is pretty hard to call because Pickett's got that one punch power because that's his nickname for Christ's sake. But he's actually he's fallen off here in his last couple. I know he picked up a win in his last fight against Francisco Rivera, but other than that, he was that flying knee against Almeida. That was vicious. And, he's lost a couple in a row besides the last one that he picked up, but that was a split, so it could have went either way. And with Alcantara, he lost to Jimmy Rivera and in his last fight out. So I think that Alcantara is going to win by first round sub. I feel like Brad Pickett's just going to try to do like an uppercut or try to just get in close, and he's just going to get taken down, and then it's just going to be the ground game for the rest of the round, and then Yuri's just going to sink in some kind of submission, probably like a rear naked, and this one will be all over. First round sub. Yeah, first round sub for sure. Okay, next we go to the main card. That's right, the one you have to buy on pay-per-view. No freebies from the UFC, unfortunately, besides the Fox Sports 1. I guess I need Fight Pass to watch the previous ones, but okay. Featherweight, to kick off the card, UFC 204, we got Mirsad Bektik versus Russell Dion. And Russell's actually coming in on like a couple days' notice, no one's really giving him a shot, but I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going Russell. I think it'll be a split decision, but I feel like that Russell's coming in on like I said, a couple of days' notice. I know he's lost 3 in a row, so he needs a win. And what better way to keep your job than go out there on a couple of days' notice and beat an undefeated guy in the UFC. So I'm going Russell Dion by split decision to kick off the UFC 204 card. Next up, the only heavyweight fight on the card. We got skyscraper Stefan Struve versus Daniel Omalanchuk. Now, Stefan Struve was actually supposed to fight. Let me just look it up here quick. He was supposed to fight somebody else in this, but he was supposed to fight Ruslan Magomedov, but he got hurt, and then Daniel Omalanchuk came in, at very short notice. But you have to go with Struve on this one because Struve has fought the better competition in the UFC. I mean, he's the only guy that has a finish on the current heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic, which is, that's no easy feat. Everyone was all up in, everyone thinks that Stipe is going to be a great champion, which he probably could be, but, Stipe's only lost 2 times. One to Struve, which he actually finished him by punches, and then Gigi Dos Santos would finish him by decision. So the only person that held a decisive victory due to stoppage over the current UFC heavyweight champion is Stefan Struve, and he will easily be able to handle Daniel Omalanchuk. And I feel like this is going to be probably first round TKO or second round TKO. And this actually should be a pretty fun fight to watch. Moving right along. Light heavyweight. Ovin St. Peru. Jimmy Manawa. Now this one could go either way in my opinion. Manawa's coming off a brutal KO from Rumble Johnson. And Ovins, I don't think he's fought since that decision against John Jones, which was for the interim title. So each guy's coming off a loss. But I think Ovins is the actual better fighter. And I think that he will win probably by split decision. So I think Ovins will win that one. But it's going to be a good fight to watch. And I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. The co-main event, middleweight division, Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that Vitor is past his prime. I mean, he's 39 years old. And if you want to talk about past your prime, wait till I talk about the main event for 204. Okay, Belfort's coming off that vicious beating he took against Ronaldo Souza. But before that, he beat Dan Henderson, which I think everyone in this division that beat Dan Henderson. So Vitor's coming off that brutal loss. And Gegard's actually coming off a very nice fight against Thiago Santos, which he caught him in the first round with a nice punch and, won by KO. So on this one, anyone any day in the UFC has a puncher's chance. That's a given. But I feel like Belfort's definitely lost a step in his old age, and Gegard is still an elite fighter in the UFC. And so I got to go Gegard probably by maybe second round sub. And that'll be a good fight. And then maybe Belfort will retire because he knows he doesn't have it. But then again, I could see Belfort catching him like Uriah Hall caught Mousasi with some kind of spinning kick. And, anything could happen in this fight. But I'm going Gegard Mousasi second round sub. I think I said that. Next up, the one fight that everyone has been dying to see. Michael the Count Bisping versus Dan Hendo Henderson. A UFC 100 rematch where Henderson's delivered that vicious punch and then the vicious elbow on the way down. And this will be Hendo's swan song. He said no matter what, if he wins, he retires. If he loses, he retires, which I don't know. I hope he does because, for Christ's sake, Hendo is the oldest fighter. He's 46 years old. That is old. He's coming off that UFC 199 victory over against Hector Lombard, but in that fight, each person got dropped multiple times, and Hendo just happened to drop Lombard with that side elbow and the follow-up punch while he was unconscious on the ground. Hendo's MO. But before that, Hendo lost to Belfort by KO, and then he did beat Tim Boetsch by KO. But before that, he was just on a losing streak, and I feel like that anyone, any day in MMA has a puncher's chance. And I'm actually going to go with Hendo because I would like to see him actually win. I don't know if Bisping's going to come in with that revenge factor like Aldo did against McGregor and just get caught. Because Hendo can still catch it. He's still got power for a 46-year-old man. I wouldn't want to be in there with Hendo, even if he was 86. So I feel like the first round is definitely going to be a filling out process, but then I feel like the second round, Hendo's going to come out and he's going to catch him somehow, rock Bisping, and then just follow up with some ground and pound against the cage. Like Bisping will be crumpled up, and Hendo will just keep unloading bombs, and then we will have a new middleweight champion, which will be Dan Hendo. He'll bring his family in. He'll have a nice little ceremony, and then he'll leave on the top of his game, which I would definitely like to see. So I'm going Hendo. And there you are, folks. That is my UFC 204 Chowdown. That's right. You've been listening to Chicken Parm Dave's MMA Chowdown, and I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to try to do this a lot more often. So, hey, thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.